Hey guys, and welcome to another season of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia, and in this season, we uncover the remarkable power of genuine compassion and insightful vision. This season, we're here to show the world that we, as individuals, are the brand, regardless of misconceptions. Join us as we go deep into the inspiring journeys of our guests, each one a testament to the impact and influence of kindness and creativity. Don't just take my word for it. Hear their stories, feel their passion, and discover the transformative potential within us all. So stay tuned as we shine a light on the truths that connects us and inspires change.
I'm Lisa Holley Palmer, founder of Mind Jump magazine, author, motivational speaker, and you're listening to Savia Rocks on the Us People podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia, and today I have Lisa, the editor-in-chief of Mind Jump magazines. There you go, we got it. Mind Jump magazines. Lisa, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. And I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, I'm excited. And I have to say, everyone probably even listening to you, your voice, I'm like, you're making me melt. It is the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. It's really lovely voice. So thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome, Lisa. She's already made me go shy.
No, we're girls. We can chat.
Yeah, no, we can chat. And this is what I like.
Girls, toilets, and I ended up talking in there, and all my friends like, where have you been? I've been in the toilet for half an hour gassing because I just talk, so it's good to talk.
This is what I like. You know what? One of the most beautiful things in the world is communication, and I wish people done it more, but sometimes I feel that people are afraid to say how they feel, which I'm sure even you know this part about life. A lot of people are afraid to say how they feel or even just speak to someone, not knowing that if you just say a sentence like hello, how are you, all these small things, you can actually make a really good relationship with someone. But anyway, we're going to talk forever, so let's go. so let's go. My first question for you, because when I was reading up about you, I know you have a book which we're going to also talk about. You have been through so much in your life, and that in itself is a beautiful story to be able to articulate to people from all over the world. So my first question for you is, could you tell us a bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Yeah, no, thank you. I thought, where do I start? It's literally, it is a very long story, but it's so difficult. It's been very painful, but actually therapeutic for me to actually talk about it, because I just want to spread the message and help others talk up. But thank you. But I'll start a little bit from school. So I was quite a confident-ish kid, wasn't always looking forward to school because I was never really academic, but kind of started there. And when I started, I knew I was always different, but it sort of came apparent as I got older. So when I was sort of 12, 13, I really struggled with reading and writing. So for me, looking at a book, it literally looked like the sea, so I couldn't see the words. They'd all jumped around, and when I was writing, I would just take forever. I was really slow. And I get at school the mickey taken out of me, and everyone does, and I get it. But for me, it really hit a chord, because I was struggling myself and I was angry because I couldn't be like everyone else. I really got frustrated. But over time, it got worse. So when I was 14, I remember standing up in the classroom, and the teacher, I don't blame the teacher, but they say, "Oh, could you please stand up and read this?" And I'd be like shaking, and I'd sound like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old. I'd go, went to the. I was really slow, and so they put me in all the bottom groups, and that was difficult enough as it is. But then they said to me, I think I was about 14, 15, they said, you're going to have to go on the special bus. And you can imagine the absolute stick I got. And I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I'm just saying it so you know what I was called and how it made me feel. So I was called stupid, dumb, thick. But as soon as I went on the special bus, they're like, oh, how many windows have you licked today, Lisa? Duh, you know, and things like this. But it really, that really hurt me. And when you feel thick and stupid and not intelligent, and you're already beating yourself up already, you know, because you're not right. When you're doing exams, you're not up to speed with everyone. And I remember doing exams, and a lot of my friends were obviously very intelligent, and I'd sit there, and I think you'd have an hour long exam, and I'd still be like on the first few questions, I just could not get it. And then when you get the exam results back, so, you know, like a -D, and I'm like, God, I've tried really hard.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, and it just was so stupid. And in the end, with school, I just used to bunk off because, I just couldn't cope with being in the classroom. And this was in the 80s as well, Savia. So a lot of people, they didn't know what, so I had dyslexia, but people didn't know what it was then, and you just were seen as stupid and thick. And I think today now, I think it's a lot easier because there is different things you can have, and lots of tools to help you. But for me, back in the 80s, they didn't know what it was. You were just seen as stupid and thick, and as I say, put on a special bus. So that knocked my confidence massively. I think by the time I left school, I was the most insecure person. So my confidence before I started school was up here. By the end, I was down here. I just doubted myself with everything, and nervous, had no self-esteem whatsoever. My self-worth was literally -100. I just felt stupid, insecure, and I felt I had no value to anyone because I suppose I didn't value myself then.
It's such a shame that people feel that way, because I understand how you feel, because I got locked in a classroom for having dyslexia.
Oh, did you? Oh, I didn't know you had
Yeah, I'm dyslexic. I'm dyslexic, and I also have ADHD. So I'm always all over the place, and my mind works different. So I understand exactly how you feel. So when you're saying that, kind of tears are coming to my eyes because I know how that felt.
Yeah. I think
people don't realize that you have a gift, and your gift might be, you might be able to do maths fantastically, or you might be able to memorize something, or you might be able to draw from memory. Dyslexia doesn't mean that you are stupid. It means that you have a different way of understanding things.
Yes.
That is how people should embrace you with it.
That's right.
Your gift can help other people in the world to understand that they might not have the same gift as you, but you can help enhance what they have from a different perspective. I wish people's minds were more open from the 70s, 80s, but the problem is that people are taught from people, and once they are taught from people, they adapt to that other person's mindset, and they carry that with them, rather than saying, I'm going to be the change of someone who is different, and I'm going to see them from a different perspective. So they make also, sometimes it could be that a person feels threatened by you because you have a different intellect compared to them. Now, you're not stupid at all. I know that. You were never stupid. You're not stupid. You are highly intelligent. You see things from an abundant, different perspective. And that's the most beautiful thing that you can be and have. And you deserve to have confidence like anybody else. Anybody else. So this is just me telling you that I understand where you're coming from. And I understand that in your life it must have, which we're going to definitely get into, taken you on different pathways, where sometimes in life you go through these different difficult pathways because we don't realize our self-worth.
Yeah, of course.
Because of what other people tell us. So please just carry on, because I just want to hear the rest.
No, thank you. So I just want to say one thing that which I found out not long ago, actually, was people who've got ADHD, dyslexia, is actually a wonderful gift, and I will talk about that later. But in I think it's like the police force. They use people who've got dyslexia and ADHD, because what happens is, they said, for say like a police case, our brains work differently to a lot of other people.
Yep.
And they said, we don't know how to get to A to B, but we already know how to get to B.
Exactly.
Works differently. And it was incredible that they're using the agents now who've got this and a gift really to help solve crimes, because they already know. We're intuitive, I think, and that's the thing. So it just made me feel, I was like, oh my God, yeah, it is a gift. It really is. But as you say, at that time, I didn't know I didn't know I had this gift. So left school and got a job. Hated it, to be honest. My mum made me go and work, and it's like, here, like, go leave school. You think, oh great, I'm gonna have some fun here. And my parents marched me straight down to the job centre to get a job. So God damn it. But got a job in this office. It was with 200 women, and it was quite incredible, really, because I was so young. And I remember walking in there thinking, oh my God, there's so much noise and but different people, different conversations. But actually, it was one of the most wonderful things, because I'd listen to people talking from all different ages, from 20s to sort of 60s, and they'd be talking about the relationships. If some were happy, some were unhappy, some were, you could hear giggling, and it was just incredible. And I was kind of like a sponge, really. I would just listen and take things in. I didn't really talk much when I first started, because I was I just had no confidence at all. And I was kind of doing like just basic admin at the time, because I just needed something, I suppose, because I just felt thick still and stupid at that time. So, and I worked in this office. And yeah, it was fine. But the funny thing was, this is where I started one of my careers, actually, but I didn't know it at the time. So I'd listen to the women, as I say, and they would talk about the dating aspect, and how they were upset, sad, depressed, fed up. Some were happy, some were like, wanted a little bit, if you know what I mean. So my dad, he had like a property kind of building company, electricians and that. So so when I'd go home, the workmen would be there sometimes, unloading the vans, and I'd listen to all of them. And again, it was the same, like, patter, like, oh, I've had a bit, or she's giving me the or, it was just a similar conversations, but like from different, men and women. And I was like, oh my God. And I just loved it. And then one of the guys who worked for my dad, he was quite sad, because he was single, he'd been single for a long time. And I thought, oh, there's a woman who I work with, would be great match for you.
I like this.
And this was, this was like very early 90s, and nobody, done matchmaking then. You just get like the free ads in the papers, good sense of humour, looking for a man, 36. So I just thought, oh, I like this. So I started at that age. So I was like 16, 17, or just turned 17, I think. I started matchmaking then, and it gave me such a buzz. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I just sort of felt it in my soul. I just thought, oh, you get on really well with you. And actually, I think they're still friends today, that first ever couple, which is incredible. They didn't stay together, but they became really good friends. And I thought, I love this. And I was so excited. So I'm probably more excited than them going on the date. I was like, this is great. I just felt such a buzz. But back then we didn't even have mobile phones. So I didn't get to hear what had happened till the next morning. I was like on tenterhooks. I'm like, my God, did you get on? Oh, how did it go? And it just gave me such a buzz, and it was just incredible. And so from there onwards, every job I went into, I was kind of like I suppose, like, people just come and tell me their problems. I don't know why, but I'm very open, and I like people to feel comfortable. I don't judge, no judgment. Everyone's gone through different things in their life. And I just done it for years and years and years. and just had the most, like loved it. But obviously I was still working, because obviously matchmaking and dating wasn't really, as I say, there was no dating apps, because there wasn't there wasn't websites then. So God, I sound bloody old.
You're not old. Don't say that. Don't say.
So anyway, cut a long story short, so the matchmaking, but in between that I'd started dating, and I'd had some lovely relationships when I was younger, some just like more, didn't really sort of do much, like just kiss them and be really embarrassed. And, I didn't even, you were talking about my virginity, but I didn't till quite late, because I was so nervous. And even like, if they're kissing me, I'm like, oh my God, I was really shy and embarrassed. And people, I think, because I had the blonde hair and, I don't know, I was just sort of, I was quite tall, but blonde hair, but obviously geeky as anything. I mean, if I could explain myself looking like, I was probably like Rodney Trotter out of Only Fools and Horses, he's geeky, I'd trip over my own legs. I was really so insecure. So I looked like a female Rodney Trotter. So I just, when I went on these dates, I was just so embarrassed. And it was more, I think they felt sorry for me, really. It was more friends. And, but I met some really lovely guys, and still friends with some of them now. Even, some of them I did date, but I've got lots of male friends from the 90s, and just, they're lovely. And then I met this one guy, and this is where my sort of life changed. So one of the girls I worked with, she said, oh, should we go on holiday? And I'd never been abroad. I was like, oh my God. Well, actually, tell a lie, I had been abroad with my parents, but never abroad with friends or just done anything like that. So I was quite excited. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. But the problem was, Savia, for me to have confidence, I would drink. So I started drinking alcohol, which wasn't good. I used to drink a lot, because when I had a lot of alcohol in me, I felt really confident.
I understand that.
Yeah. For me to go even out clubbing, I'd have a bottle of Prosecco or a bottle of Scotch, like only the little bottles, but I'd have a bottle of that, nick that back. So then when I walked in that club, I felt really confident, because I had literally zero confidence. And people see me now and they're like, God, they don't think I am. But I said, I had none. But it's over the years. I mean, I'm older now. I've had to learn, and through some experiences. But so alcohol was like my crutch. It gave me confidence. And when I was in that club, my God, people would think I'm the most confident person in the world, and I was the most insecure person you've probably ever seen. But I would be dancing. I'd get the pole, and I couldn't pole dance, but I'd just swing around it and promote myself looking absolute tit. But I enjoyed the fun.
At least that's the way you say it.
I'm sorry. But I did, I was a tit, but I had a laugh, So I can't ever complain. I did have some really good, memorable times, but it was all through alcohol. That was like my mask. The mask was up, and no one ever got in. No one ever really got to know me, because they just saw the fun, Lisa part that was great fun when she was dancing and messing around and doing a moonie, being silly. But that was all through alcohol. But no one actually ever saw the real me, because I kind of had a mask.
How was it? How was it for you, Lisa? Because you drank alcohol, for example. But that was your high moment? But when you came down from the alcohol, and you were back to, Lisa, how was that for you?
Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So you're on the high, you're feeling really good. Then when you wake up day, oh my God, you have such anxiety, insecurities, and then you'd question everything. So my mind would go over everything that happened the night before. So my dog's crying.
Hi, doggy. Hi.
She's dreaming. But so I'd have massive lows, and just feel really, excuse the French, hope we're allowed to swear here.
Of course you are. Yep.
Really shit, Savia. I just felt so low. But I didn't recognise that as in like an issue, because what I do then is like the afternoon, say like it was on a Saturday, I then go and meet friends at the pub and just carry on drinking. I'd nick a couple of Proseccos before I went, and then just carry on. So there was never really much stop, because when I did stop, I would just neck a drink. And for example, this is awful, but one of the companies I used to work at, I was only in my 20s, I'd have a little bottle of scotch in the drawer.
Wow.
And and I don't think, I don't think I was an alcoholic, but I don't know. I had it I just needed it. I needed that confidence. So I'd swig a couple of mouthfuls of scotch, and I knew then, like, by lunchtime I'd feel more confident, and then we'd go down the pub for lunch, have another drink, and then, back to work for a few hours, and then out again. I was literally out probably 5-6 nights a week. I just didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to be insecure. I didn't actually want to. It's a bit like opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
I did not want them insecurities. I just put them all in a box, hid them, and put on a face. So it's like putting on a mask, really. No one knew the real me, and they saw the fun part of me. And I do believe when I was out partying and that is me. I can be fun, but I didn't have that confidence to show that. I had to have alcohol to show that fun, silly me, and I am silly and fun, and I like enjoying it now. But at that time, I couldn't let anyone see me. It was a mask.
You know what? The question that I have will relate to this, Lisa. And I think it's so important that I do ask you this question. So, can you define yourself as a person, but also who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time when you have looked in the mirror, and I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, and not recognize the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you may not have liked the vision of to become the person that you wanted to be without the influence of other people?
Yeah, no, good question. Thank you. For me, I didn't recognize it as... I knew it was a problem, but I couldn't face it at the time. In the 20s, 30s, even 40s, I didn't recognise it, because I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to see myself. I didn't even love myself. I hated myself, which is really... God, that really is quite... It really is sad that I hated myself that much. I didn't love myself. I didn't even like myself. So I didn't want to look in the mirror. And it's funny, because one of my friends, it's not funny, but she passed away not long ago, and she was the most beautiful girl. She was so pretty, really lovely person. And I used to love seeing her when I go around the house when we was younger as a kids, and she'd look in the mirror and go, and she'd just go like this, I love you, and I love you. And I loved that for her. And she was so pretty. She was such a nice girl. And I used to look at her, and I'd have stars in my eyes. I'm like, yeah, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty. And I thought, why can't I be like that? I used to think, why am I not like that? Why? And I didn't even want to look in the mirror. As you say, you put your makeup on and that, but I didn't want to love me, because I didn't like me. And as I say, the alcohol was the best thing, because when I had the alcohol, I loved me then. I thought I was great. I was great fun. But it's a bit like the roller coaster. It's like a high, come down, and I've got to get straight back up there. I can't be down there, because I don't want to open, as I say, Pandora's box.
Yeah.
So it was incredibly difficult, and I never loved myself until really the last probably 5 years or so, maybe less than that. Which is quite sad, really, for someone who's, a lot older now. And but my journey took me on like a different path. So, and it was teaching me to wake up, but I didn't listen. So, when as I said to you, I was dating, and I kind of met different people. And there's a few different stories in between, but I'll tell you the significant one. So, in my late 20s, my mum would always say to me, oh, you're going to be the oldest swinger in town. You're going to be like old, and no one's going to want you, because you're like, you're left on a shelf because you're still out clubbing. And I get what she was saying. And I suppose that insecurity as well then kept me in fear. So I was like, oh God, I am going to be the oldest swinger in town. But I didn't want to settle down, because if I settle down, I've got to take away the mask, and I've got to be me. And I didn't want to be me. I just wanted a drink. I just wanted to feel the highs. So... and this is when my life turned around, so for the worse. I met this guy on a night out, and just before that, my nan was probably my role model. She mainly looked after me most of my life, and me and my nan were like this. We were best friends. Although she was lovely. Although I didn't talk to her about me personally, but we'd have so much in common. We both loved animals and dogs, and I just felt like a safe space there. So my nan was my everything, my world to me. And she'd gone through cancer and was in and out of hospital for about 10 years, or 7 years. And they said to us she'd probably only have a year to live, which is quite horrendous. And for anyone that, if that's your sort of your main person, like more like she's like my mum and dad. So it's really difficult for me when we knew she had cancer. And I was told then she hasn't got long to live. And I really struggled. But just before all of this, I would say the alcohol, the partying, the clubbing, long story short, she passed away, and that literally hit me like a ton of bricks, Savia. I think that was probably one of my lowest points. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see anyone. I weren't drinking then because I just was indoors, and I'd literally keep myself busy with TV or I couldn't. You can't sit there with my thoughts. I didn't want to be with my thoughts. I just wanted to watch telly and just kind of keep the thoughts out of my head, because if I opened them up, I don't know how I would have controlled myself, and I think I'd have fallen to bits. And I didn't have people around me to help me to unravel, I suppose, what was going on in my mind. I didn't know, that this was still again in the probably in the 90s, 2000s. So you didn't have like therapists or coaches, or you didn't have like the online stuff what you do you do have today. So it's very difficult. If you'd had TikTok then, it might have actually helped.
That's true.
Yeah, I know there's a bad side to it, but actually there is a wonderful side as well. Like with podcasts, and you can hear people and you're like, oh God, I'm going through that. Maybe I could learn this or do this or help. So I didn't have that. So it was very difficult. So my nan passing was a big, huge hole in my heart. And anyway, over the weeks, I just was very, very depressed. Anyway, my friends called me up and said, look, we're going out, please come out. And I know they loved me going out because when I was drunk, I was a party animal. So, I was a silly one, out of the group of being stupid, because that was me, the embarrassing one. You always get one of those, don't you? And that was me, but obviously heavily intoxicated. So that was me. Aww. And I just, sometimes I could go back and talk to that little, the little girl or the one inside. I wish I could have done, but at the time, as I say, I couldn't open Pandora's box. But so this particular night, they kept on and on at me, and I did not want to go out. And I've never felt this in my gut. I just had this most horrible feeling not to go out. But there were 6 of them, and they were ringing me and messaging me, like, please come out, please come out. We just had mobile phones then, so it was a thing, so you'd get text messages. And I just felt guilt, and I thought, I suppose I better go out. So, and this is the night I went out, absolutely blathered, like really pissed, and dancing on the dance floor being stupid. And this guy was looking at me, and I mean, he was incredibly handsome, he was a really lovely looking guy. And I thought, why is he looking at me? Like his eyes were on me. It was quite strange. So I wasn't used to that. I know, like, when I was pissed, as I say, I'll go and talk to anyone, but if I wasn't, and people, I don't know if they looked at me or not, I didn't really take much notice. I was more worried about myself, like thinking, your own insecurities, and, you don't think of others or what they're looking at, because I didn't like to make eye contact. If I was pissed, I would, but, if I was me, like, say, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have probably had this conversation, like, sober, because I couldn't, Savia. I was embarrassed. So I met this guy, started talking to him, and it was like near enough like chucking out time, and our cab was coming. Anyway, and he's talking to me, and again I was really pissed, so I can't remember the full extent of the conversation, but it was just a 5-minute chat. And he wanted my number, and my friend was with me, so we were just about to go to the toilet. She gave him my number. And I thought, he ain't going to call me. As I say, he was really, really fit. And he ended up calling me. So and messaging me. But by the time we got back, I mean, I was absolutely hammered, so passed out, you know, like kind of like hanging like all the girls the next day, feeling crap. And so what do? Go straight to get breakfast and go and get another drink at the pub so I can feel better. And he started messaging me and texting me. And anyway, very long story short, started seeing him. And I remember the first time he come down, I was like, oh my God, you know, like he's going to see me, you know, and because obviously in the clubs it's dark, you know, and you think, oh, well, he probably didn't really see me, you know, and I suppose in your mind, it's like the demons, you know, like, oh God, is he like you? Like, you know, you're insecure. And even having a conversation, like if I was sober, I could not look in his eyes. I was embarrassed, you know. I was kind of like, as I say, I know I go back to the Rodney Trotter thing, but that's what I was like, geeky, embarrassed, shy, you know, no intelligence, felt stupid. So we, before he come down, I necked literally a whole bottle of Prosecco, and I thought, right, you know, I can go on this date. And I went on the date, and we got on well, but he liked drinking, he liked partying, so I thought, great, you know, we just partied, we went out clubbing, it felt good, you know. I thought, oh, you know, I can have a laugh with him because we was drunk and being stupid, and I'd do like stupid things back in the day, like my chicken dance, which I really won't show you. So
I don't mind. Don't mind.
You don't want to see what it was bad, but you know, I was fun, you know, like we'd have a laugh. So I thought this is great relationship. But the thing is, I did not know him. We would party, you know, and with alcohol, I'd say to anyone, like, now, if you're ever going on a date, please do not drink, because you do not know who you're in front of. And it's such, I get it for insecurities, but someone now where I sit now is, you know, if they don't like you for who you are, or your insecurities, or if they're not there to help you grow, you don't want that person, you know. You don't want someone who's not there for you, who doesn't love you for you, who doesn't like your geekiness or your weirdness or your insecurities. You want someone who wants to lift you and like motivate you and make you feel good. And you know, but I was hiding all of that. As I say, he didn't know the real me, because I hadn't shown him. I'd just shown him the party girl, and he loved the party girl. Well, so I thought he liked the party girl. And then a few months of seeing each other like every other weekend or weekends, as I say, getting pissed and drunk, and just, as I say, he'd come down Saturday afternoon, we'd drink out all night Saturday night, then obviously stay over somewhere, again, get up in the morning, kind of like, it's awful, isn't it? You know, when you're first dating as well, you kind of, us girls, you'd be straight into the bathroom, do my makeup, make my hair, and then pretend and then have another drink and pretend then I'm just lying there, just woken up, you know, like I had to be in the bathroom for about half an hour, sorting my hair out, and like, you know, tidying your face up, then having another drink is so sad. But, you know, but most women do that, you know, as in like not the drink, but, you know, you kind of like clean your teeth and make yourself look really presentable. You know, and but you know, I don't always, but we do, because you know, I didn't want him to see me like in a mess, and especially like back in then, I'm going to really embarrass myself, Savia, but you know, I'd have the old chicken fillets down there, you know, to make it look bigger. It was like, and actually, this is so embarrassing. When I went on the date, because then we literally just had, these were new out, so you'd had like the false eyelashes.
Oh,
so I've had
yes. People still have them today. Yes, I've seen them.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And but these were first out, and the glue was horrendous. So you put the glue on there, I had my chicken fillets on. I thought, oh, great, a few tricks. Anyway, this is not a good look. So by the time end of the night, I remember we were sitting down and drinking, and I looked, and I thought, what's that on my cheek? I literally
had the eyelash
here. And then I looked down and I saw my chicken fillet hanging out of my top. I just thought, what the hell? This is really like, you know, I looked a mess.
I remember my friend had her eyelash and it was, you know, it was kind of like stuck to her eyebrow.
They were awful in the day. They're just the glue. You'd sweat, and then they would just like move down your face. So yeah, I did not look good. So thank God things have changed now. That's all I can say.
Oh dear.
So, yeah, back to him. So anyway, we were out clubbing, and as I say, like it was most weekends or every other weekend. And as I say, he didn't see the mask, he didn't see me, and then I fell pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is where my whole life changed. Now I couldn't look after me. How on earth was I going to look after a child? And I was terrified, and I was never going to. I thought be a mum. I never really thought about it, to be honest. I loved animals, and I care for them or do anything to animals. I love them, but I was like, kids. What am I going to do with a kid? I still feel like a kid in myself. Like how am I going to look after my child? And when I fell pregnant, I was like, shit. I don't know what to do, and like telling him as well. I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. And he was like shocked as well. We were both like sort of stunned, and I thought, God, I can't drink, and I did for a little bit, a couple of times, like just have like a glass or two, but that's when I got to see him.
Mm-hmm.
And this was not good. I'm very much, I like an easy life. I don't like confrontation. I don't like arguing. Yeah. I'm very, I just like let things be. And I think that probably stems from my dad. He's not very much, and my mum, they don't like confrontation, don't like arguing, just don't like anything to do with that. And I'm very much an easy, I suppose an easy people pleaser, really. That's who I was. Yeah. I just didn't want a hard life. And I would see little things he would start. So I was working, and I was earning reasonably good money, and I was paying, literally most of the money for where we was living, because he sort of moved down with me. So, but it was little things that he would start, like what you're spending that on, and where you're going, and what you're doing, and the control just got worse and worse. And while I was pregnant, I was thinking, oh my God, what have I done? But then you think in your mind, oh, if we, once we have the baby, perhaps things would get better, or perhaps my life would change. So I kind of just let it go that, perhaps it's because we was in a flat. Perhaps if we, can get a house one day, that things would get better. He'd be happier. But there was always something with him, every day. If say the rain, it was raining, or if it was sunny, oh, it's too hot. Or if it's raining, oh, it's too cold out there and it's wet and miserable. But there was all, I'm one of those people who always see, I'm probably really annoying, but I always see the positive in everything.
You're like me. Yeah, you see the optimism. Yeah, you're exactly like me. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's raining, then I'm like, well, that's good. The ducks will be happy, or like, the grass is getting, or the crops are growing. All right. I mean, it doesn't do good for my hair. If my hair gets wet, I literally look, and Tina Turner looks bloody gorgeous. I look like Tina Turner. My hair comes out. I do not look good. Like, my hair is bad. So I do not like the rain for that. But I always see positive in everything. I think life's a gift, and we have to love and appreciate everything. And I think that's what I've learned over the years. I didn't really appreciate it because I just didn't appreciate myself, because I was just stuck in this negative circle and this vibration and insecurities. But it all stemmed from school and the being thick and stupid. So again, a long story short, I had the baby, and again, and I felt terrible, Savia, because when I had my son, who's called Brad, he was 2 weeks late and went to have him, and horrendous, by the way. Just just take drugs for when you're having children. I shouldn't say that, but yeah, it was painful. But anyway, I got there, and I couldn't have any drugs because I was 9 centimeters dilated, so I really felt everything. So but anyway. had my son, and when he first came out, you take him out and they give him to you, and I was just like, I was a bit like, oh God, what do I do with this? And it sounds awful. I didn't bond with my son. I didn't. I sort of, like you love him, but it's a bit
You
like
had a
when
disconnect. Yeah.
yeah, I had no connection at all, and I didn't know what to do. And it was actually funny, and I know he probably obviously breastfeed, and he didn't take to me, and I struggled with it because I didn't know how to connect. And then I felt even worse then because I felt a terrible mother. I thought, God, I'm a really bad mum. He doesn't love me, and I don't like him because I just don't know what to do because I don't think he likes me. And I think all them insecurities came in that, does he love me? Am I doing the right thing? What am I doing? Will I ever be a good mum? And I think paranoia proper set in. And again, because I think my own problems and own insecurities, I've never dealt with them. I'd still just boxed them away. And like literally, I've been emotionless. I've put no emotion in anything. And now I've got this bundle of beautiful joy. But how do I love him? And I felt awful. I felt really bad as a mum. And I thought, when you watch like TVs and like, it all got these wonderful mums and, that like, they'd be like making carrots and like singing happy clappy, and I was not like that. And what do I do? Like, and it took me probably about 5 or 6 weeks till I bonded, and in them time, as I say, I felt awful. But when I bonded, oh my God, I literally fell in love with my son, and it is the most beautiful thing I think I've ever had in my life. But at the time, as I say, he just felt terrible. But once I bonded, my God, we're like, even now, like today, I mean, he's in his 20s now, we're best friends, and I love my son so much. And it's funny, as you say, because, like, as I say, we didn't have that bond, but now we literally are inseparable. Obviously he's got his own life, but we love each other so much, and there's so much bond. So I think for any mums out there who's maybe not struggling or, not feeling that connection, you will do. It might take time, like me, but like the bonds we have, as I say, he always sort of see me as his best friend, and I always saw him as my best friend. So I think it's like as if my nan, as I say, because my nan had passed, I had so much loss and insecurities, but he was like my love. And it's the best thing I've ever had, and I think it taught me to sort of grow up a little bit, because as I say, the drinking, the partying, and I was like, right, I've got to look after this little boy now. And again, very long story short, my ex was getting worse, like the mental abuse. Like he was, he's a narcissist, and but again, and I'm going to flip this in a minute. There was so much abuse, and for example, I go to work, and like the journey is, I don't know, 26 or 30 miles, whatever it is, I can't quite remember the miles. And I'd get home and he'd be like, where have you been? I'm like, at work. And he'd go like to the car, he said, well, you've done 26 miles on your car, and work's 23 or 24. Where have you been? Where's the other 2 miles? And I'm like, what? And I said, well, I've took like our son to the park, just for an hour. And he's like, well, okay, but every day it was like this, checking my phone, checking the mileage, checking where I've been, checking what I'd spend, into a case where literally every night I'll be walking on eggshells. Who's coming in tonight? Would it be it'd be Jekyll and Hyde? I mean, some days he'd be lovely, he would be really nice, and then you think, oh, he's so nice, he's so lovely. Then the next day he'd be like an absolute horrible pig, because he'd be shouting at me, screaming at me, and my son, he could feel it, and he'd be upstairs crying, or he'd be like, Mum, can we leave? Can we go? And I'm like, but I didn't know what to say to him, and I didn't know what to do. And obviously, and over the years, it just got worse and worse. And I suppose I had no confidence, and I thought, well, where am I going to go? I was scared. And it took me years to sort of build up some confidence to actually leave. And And I told him, and he said, "You'll never leave me. Who's going to want you? You know, oh, you'll never go." And like laughed in my face. And he said, "Oh, if you go, I'll kill you, and like, you know, I'll keep
Wow.
my son." I know. I know. I think at the time, I know he didn't mean that, but I think he was angry.
I think
But
it's
again,
more fear as well. When people have a
yeah,
fear inside of them, they'll rather be narcissistic or they'll rather be horrible towards you
yeah,
because they feel that gives them the power. And because
yeah.
they know the insecurities that you have, they feed off those securities to make you feel even worse and make them feel even powerful.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he had the power over me. I was too scared. And I just thought, oh, perhaps I can't, perhaps I can't. And you kind of leave it and you just stay. But every time it would just get worse and worse. And as I say, you know, 4 or 5 days out of the week, I'd be walking on eggshells. And I literally, to the point, I didn't even want to go home. I didn't even want to be at home. The only time I wanted to be was with my son. I didn't want to be with him. And me and my son end up going out for long walks. Like, I'd have a bike and I'd put him on the back of the bike when he was younger, or we'd go out biking and we'd go out for like an hour, 2 hours, because I just didn't want to go home. So literally, as soon as I got home, I'd bath my son and then put him to bed. But a lot of the time, I had to sometimes go out to work as well in the evenings to pay the bills. So I'd be quite glad in a way because I didn't want to be at home. But again, my son would be asleep, or our son. So you know, I knew he'd be okay. But it was horrible. My son would cry because he'd hate it because I was going to work, and you know, he wanted to be with me. And again, a very long story short is so anyway, I over the years again, it just got worse. And one Christmas, this was I think one of the nails on the head. So for Christmas Day, you always try to make it special, don't you? You know,
Yes.
like kind of family, and you want it to be a lovely day. So I'd like, you know, I prepped everything. You know, got the potatoes. The veg, made a nice turkey, got my son presents. So I was really excited. I wanted it to be a lovely Christmas day that we could actually enjoy. Anyway, I went to have the Christmas day, was doing the dinner with my son, don't like his sort of stocking. And then in the evening, after dinner, we always have like Christmas presents. That's sort of our tradition. So anyway, we went to have dinner, put dinner on the table. And he took a bite. I think it was a potato. Anyway, and he got it, and he went, what is this shit?" And he literally got there and threw the plate across the floor, like smashed, and the gravy everywhere. And my son then started screaming and crying. And I thought, this is Christmas Day, you know. And I started crying, you know, like be trying to console my son.
Yeah.
And my neighbour heard all of this. She heard all this screaming and shouting. He was just shouting at me and then going off and banging the doors. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. It's just making me ill. I was so depressed. I didn't even know who I was, but I still didn't know who I was, you know. Anyway, so I built up the courage to leave. I thought, right, that's it, I'm leaving. And then something happened. My son had been to school and he came back with this picture, and this has just made me feel sick inside. This picture had like a picture of me and his dad and my son, and I had a picture of a boxing bag, and I think it was like a can of alcohol, and it said, "Oh, I want this to make Dad stop being so angry and make him drink more to stop him, you know, being grumpy and angry." And then he put there's like pills, and he said, "Oh, I could give Mum pills to make her happy again." And I thought, "Oh
Wow.
my God, I know." That really, like, it's still in my gut now. It makes me feel sick because I thought, what, you know, you try when you see the outside that, you know, you try, people stay for their children all the time. You try and stay in a relationship because you want your child to have, you know, like a nice home and everything, and you know, that try and have the 2.4 children. But actually, I didn't realise the damage I was doing to my son. I thought, I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore.
He's reflecting that in what he sees, so he's
Yeah,
drawing it out.
yeah. And I just felt so bad as a mother. I thought, God, I've got to leave. Anyway, so I thought, right, get my stuff packed. I didn't even know where I was going to go. Went to leave, getting the courage, and we got a phone call. It was my partner's mum. "Your dad's got cancer." I'm like, oh, excuse the French, oh, fuck me.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yep.
And I can't leave him now. I can't do this to him. I can't. How could I do that? I mean, I should have really thought of my son as well, but I thought I can't do this to him. So, and I did love his dad. I did get on really well with his dad, and so we went up there to see his dad, and they said he's got testicular cancer. And I mean, back then again, there's more treatments now. But he didn't have treatment, and I mean, he smoked like a trooper, and I mean, his health, he was never a very healthy man, but at the same time, he got this cancer, and and I think it had gone through his whole body, and in the end, he just was literally like a shell, and he didn't have long to live. And the worst thing was, though, he was lying there, I think it was like a day or two before he was passing, he was like hallucinating. And we, as I said, we got on really well, and I really did love him. He was such a nice man. And he said to me, like, he was literally on his deathbed, I suppose, because I think it's the next day he passed. He said to me, "I'm so sorry." He said, "It's my fault. He's like he is." And I'd never really spoken to him about my, his son, my ex. But he knew a lot of times when I turned up, I'd been crying because we'd been in the car, and when we'd gone out there on journeys to see them, he knew he'd see me crying, and I'd end up sitting in the back with my son, because my son had been crying as well, because he'd been shouting at us all the way. And so he said to me, I'm sorry. And he said, "It's my fault." But he also said as well, while I was there, he said, "But you'll be okay, you and Brad." And he said, "I see a yellow dog." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I just didn't really think about it. I was like, "Yeah, okay." And but it was quite sad, because he had false teeth, and he was kind of like, mouth was like kind of like in, and his face was quite gaunt. He didn't look well. My son was like, I said, "Look, I think it's probably best if you don't see him," because he didn't look himself, but he's wanted to see him, and I think it really upset him. And I don't know if I should, but anyway, they'd said their goodbyes, and then I think it's the next day or day after he passed. So he passed away. So it's very, very sad. And as I say, I was sad, but then it took me another year to kind of build up the courage to leave again. And I'm like, God, if I don't go now, I'm never going to go. And my son's getting older, and I'm just thinking, I have to go. So I packed my bags up, and but the thing was, we sort of like had a business together. I was then, I was bringing in a little bit of money, but mainly through the business. And so we financially, he had all control of the accounts, the bank accounts, everything. So I know. So I could take out, I think it's £250, and that's all I had. So I had to leave with 250 quid, the clothes on my back, a bag of clothes, and my son. And I thought, okay, where am I going to go? And I spoke to my mum and dad, and my mum and dad are nice people, but they're very much old school. They're like, well, you made your bed, you lie in it, you got your husband. And they didn't know half the stories. I didn't tell them. They didn't know what he was like as such, because to be honest, he kept me away from them a lot. Like it was all about him and his family. So we kind of like segregated from friends and family, and it's all about him and his family, and like being with him all the time. So I didn't really have that, I suppose, close relationship. And back to when I said to you, in my childhood, I mainly spent a lot of time with my nan, because my nan was kind of, I suppose, I don't know, I always looked up to my nan. And my mum and dad are lovely, but my dad was always busy with work and busy, and just didn't have time. And mum was always sort of like looking after my dad, and kind of helping him with the business, and making his lunch and things like that. So I never really had that close relationship with my mum and dad. I mean, there was always loved them to bits, but just weren't really close. But my mum and dad, my mum said to me, "I don't think it's right, your dad won't want you here because you just don't get on really," because my dad was never really a speaker, so he didn't really speak much. And so I just thought, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I thought, I've got to go. So we went. And I just thought, right, I just drove down to a beach. I didn't know what else to do, Savia. I was literally mentally in a bad place. I was scared. I was frightened. I had no money. I thought, you couldn't see the next step. Like, where am I going to go from here to here? How am I going to move forward? So, again, a very long story short, sofa surfed for a bit. But again, I just thought, what can I do? Where can I go? So my ex-husband, I left him a note. I said, look, I'm not going to talk to you for the next 4 days. I've left you. And I said, but I will never stop you seeing your son, because I don't think that's right. But I said to him, I will not answer the phone, but I will be back, not with you, but I said I will be back in a few days. I've just got to go away. And I said, but if you ring my phone, I'm not going to answer. I think I just needed that sort of security, just to turn the phone off. And I had to mentally think about, I've still got to tell my son, what the hell am I going to tell him? And where the hell are we going to go after 3 days of this money's running out?
Yeah.
So I was lucky. I stayed with a few friends, sofa surfing and that. But again, I couldn't do that forever. And it was too far away from where I lived. So I just thought, shit, I am really in the shit here. So anyway, I spoke to a couple of people, and in the end, I asked, could I borrow some money, because I had no money. And I ended up borrowing 600 quid. And I was trying to get some work as well. But again, working. And I don't know, this is a massive thing what companies need to do. When you're dyslexic and you're filling in them bloody forms.
Oh, God, here we go, yeah.
Yeah, I could not do that. I've messed it up, and you've got free tries and different things. And I was really struggling to get a job, and I'm trying to keep my head in the right space. I'm trying to get work, and I'm thinking, where am I going to live? So I ended up borrowing this money and bought a caravan, and it was a really shitty caravan, not a nice caravan. It had holes in, it was mouldy, it was dirty. I had to kind of tidy it up, paint it, make it look, nice. But again, I still had to have this conversation with my son. And bless him, he was so scared, because I went to him, I've got something to tell you. And I could see in his face, as if he knew.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him at that time. And I said to him, look, I'm really sorry. And I wanted to be truthful with him. I said, look, it's not you, it's not nothing you've done at all. I said, but I can't be with your dad anymore. I said, I just can't. I said, he loves you very much. And I said, we both love you. I said, and you still see him. But I said, I can't be with your dad anymore, and I'm really sorry. And he cried a bit, and he went, Mum, it's okay. And then the next breath is like, right, what are we doing now? And it was, I don't know if he ever processed that, at that time, probably a massive thing. But I wanted to know that he was safe. And he hadn't done anything, because I think a lot of kids, when I've, from a long story now from where I am now, but obviously I've done coaching and therapy, but there's a lot of kids that they always sometimes blame themselves,
Yeah.
So I wanted to put that in there, that it was never his fault. It was always, he'd never done anything to instigate it. It was always mine and my ex-husband's fault. So anyway, and it was quite a relief, because I think that's what I was so tense. I felt sick, nervous and worried. And again, obviously I've got battling two things. One, that where the hell am I, I've got this caravan, but where the hell am I going to go from here? But obviously my son as well. So it was just, terrible, terrible time. But anyway, got in the caravan, tidied it up, made the best I could, and tried to get some jobs and work. But the worst thing was, it was my own fault as well. It was just coming up to Christmas, and this is probably the worst time I could have done it. I didn't really think about it. But this caravan as well, what I bought, as I say, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't insulated. It was literally like a baked bean tin, it was that, the metal was that thick. It wasn't really thick at all. So it had no insulation. It was bloody cold. It was horrible. Had no toilet. Our toilet was a bucket. It was just awful times. And only trying to stay positive and strong, and I wasn't. I was still, I still had all these other issues, feeling stupid, thick, no self-worth, no confidence. I'm trying to sort my son out. I'm trying to get a roof over our head. My brain is just in I was gone, and I was so depressed. And So from there, just coming up to Christmas, and I couldn't afford to buy my son a Christmas present. I barely put food on the table, and I felt awful, absolutely awful. And my son had gone away, I can't remember if it was his nan's or something, for a couple of days. Anyway, I sat there. It was cold. I think it was like 3 or 4 days, or how many it was to Christmas. And I'd gone outside. It was getting dark, and I went to go to toilet on the bucket. And there's a rat that ran past. Well, I think it's a rat. It looked like a rat, and you're sort of scared. And I just thought, what am I doing? I can't do this anymore. I was just so negative thoughts and so depressed. And I went back in the caravan. I was freezing. I was cold. I was miserable. I couldn't see a way out. That's my problem. I couldn't see where I was going to go. I couldn't even put my foot in front of the next one for the next day. So I went to end my life. And I just thought, I can't do this. But it was more a cry for help. I know it was. I'm sure all of us, you've gone through that. I didn't know what else to do. It was a cry for help, but I didn't know who to ask or what to do. And so I went to take these pills, sat there, got them, put them in my mouth. And it's the most weirdest thing. There's like a lightning strike. And obviously they've got the caravan. And so it's very, you can see outside because of all the bright lights. And this lightning flash come down like out of nowhere and literally like hit the ground. But it was as if like the vibration, the energy had changed. And it was really weird. But it stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, what am I doing? So I stopped. I thought, and I kind of like I slapped myself around the face. I thought, God, you've done the hard bit. You've left. You've had the courage to do that.
Exactly.
And I think that's what I wasn't seeing. I wasn't seeing what I had achieved, what I'd done, and what I had got away from. And I should have been. I think that's where many of us get so stuck, because we don't see what we've actually done, achieved to get away from something, because that is so draining, so hard. There's so many women and men. There's men, have left terrible relationships and children. And I think we need to sometimes stop and take a breath and actually be proud of ourselves. But I didn't, I was like, right, come on, you've got to be proud of yourself. You've got to see what you've done. You've done like the hardest part. Well, that's when I thought it was the hardest part. So another long story short, again, it's all in the book. Not a plug there, but I can't tell it all, so we'd be here for hours. But I pulled myself together and I started making a plan. I thought, right, I've got to do something about this. I've got to change my life.
Yeah.
So then I built a dating app. And again, this was the 2000s, about 2000s, early 2000s. Websites weren't even really, you'd only had a few out. There wasn't many around then. Or 1999, 2000s, I don't know, whenever it was. No, it wasn't. It was 2000s. That's it. You weren't having many websites. You didn't have GoDaddy and things like this, so you couldn't create websites. So I went out, was doing 2 or 3 jobs, cleaning and doing whatever I could to earn money and put food on the table. And obviously I had like debts still, they were mounting up. And anyway, again, a long story short, so much happened in my life, these stories. So, it's just incredible. But what happened then was, I built a dating site, and again, I needed some help, but I needed money. And because the reason I wanted to build a dating site is I never wanted to see anyone else so unhappy, so sad. And I just wanted people to be happy and in love. And I just thought, if I can do something about that and change it. Again, when I was going back to the matchmaking, when I was years ago, I wanted to see people happy, and it made me feel happy more than them. It just made me feel good. So I wanted to create something that I could help people. So built this site, took years, and but I didn't have the money behind me. I didn't have any backing, and to be honest, it was okay, but it was very similar to the others. It was kind of like, where do you like to go on holiday? What do you like to do? It was very superficial. There was nothing in there that kind of made a difference. And I just thought, this isn't working. I was throwing every penny what I did have, if it was on food, was just on that. So I just thought, I'm going to close this down. So I did close it down and just thought, right, what else can I do? So I thought, right, there's a few things I needed to do. If I wanted to get something out there, I needed to study. But obviously I still had the problem of reading and writing and struggling with that. So I pushed myself. So I thought, right, I've got to do something about this. So I ended up studying journalism, which was really freaking hard for me, like really hard. Like it took me well over like a year and a bit to study this and train and push myself to keep reading, to keep writing. And I was not the best. I mean, if you saw my messages back then, even my text messages, people couldn't understand it. I could, like probably you could, Savia. I should say, dyslexic could understand it, but no fucker could understand.
Miss words out.
That's it. There and there, or which there.
That's it.
The idea. So I really did push myself, and I pushed and pushed and pushed, and I worked really hard. And then I thought, right, okay, I got qualified as that. And I thought, okay, while I was doing that, I thought, right, I need to help people. So I went and studied again at nights and training. I really, as I say, I mean, I was working like 12, 13 hours then, you know. I mean, a lot of it was in the caravan as well, like studying. And I trained as a coach and a relationship coach, a life coach and a therapist because I wanted to help other people. But again, at this stage, I was still not helping myself. I was thinking of other people. How can I make them happy? How can I find them love? And so trained as that. And I was really good at it for helping other people. I kind of understood. It was really weird. I had like an intuitive. I suppose I've got emotional intelligence. When I sit with someone.
I think you're an empath, to be quite fair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's it. I definitely was. I knew within 2 minutes of sitting with somebody, I could feel their pain, and I knew, like I just knew what was wrong with them, and so I was really good at it. But again, I wasn't good for me. I just closed me off, and I went and trained then, and I thought, right, I'm going to be a matchmaker, and that's what I did. So I went and was matchmaking. And loved it, loved seeing people happy. At first, I was crap. I wasn't very good, made mistakes. We all do. And probably trust. I'm quite a trusting person. And this is another thing I should have learned, not to trust, put your guards up. And anyway, over the years, I spent years and years matchmaking, and I became really good, like really good. I just knew what people wanted, what they needed. And I worked on like algorithms to sort of understand the problems and what was going wrong, what they needed, and in the end, I was working with some really massive, high-profile people, in the press and TV, and I was good. I knew I was, but then was getting somewhere and things were going good. But in the meantime, obviously, I was out networking and kind of having to meet the right people.
Yes.
This is when I met Damien, and my whole life changed.
Hey.
And and I hadn't learnt the first time. So when I met Damien, ended up talking, and he again, this is another one who's bloody staring at me. He was just looking at me, and like it wasn't really my type, but he came over and I was talking to him. And I thought, but he was really interesting, and he was really intelligent. Now I like to hold a conversation. I like intelligent men, but I like it because I suppose at that time they talk and I didn't. So I didn't have to talk; he would talk. So it was easier for me. And so I'm just going to stop 1 second, Savia. Have you got enough time? Are you all right?
I'm good. You can keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's right. So, as I say, like it's so hard to fit all of this in. So I know the other podcasts I've done with, they've done it into two, broke it into two because it was so like put a cliffhanger.
We're good. We'll find that. It's Sunday. It's peaceful. It's actually Sunday's a good day to do this. To be quite fair.
To do it, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, yes, I met Damien, and I just thought, I could see he had so much potential. He was a clever man. And then after talking for about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, I don't know, just sort of time goes. He goes, right, I'm going now. And he just he said, here's my card. And he went. I was like, and it was quite early in the evening. Well, that's a bit strange. Anyway, got back on the train, and I can't remember if he emailed me, and I emailed him back and just said, it was nice to meet you. And he sort of kind of had me intrigued. He goes, I'm going away now, and with my children, and speak when I get back. And I thought, okay. And kind of didn't think anything of it. I thought, and just got on with my life. Anyway, I didn't hear from him for 6 weeks. And then went out for a walk because I like to walk. I like being out in the countryside and kind of in the woods. And I got a call from him. He rang me, and I thought, oh, it was just literally out of the blue. I hadn't heard from him like for probably 6 or 7 weeks now. He went, "Hi, how are you?" I went, "Oh yeah, I'm good." And we ended up talking. It must have been 6, 7 hours on the phone, literally non-stop. We just got on really well, a really good conversation. But he talked so much, and he had quite a vivid life. And but what resonated with me and him was he'd lost his children.
Oh wow.
And not through like death or anything like that. He'd lost them, so they'd been taken away. And I was like, oh, okay, what happened here? And he'd lost his home. So again, it resonated. I just felt he understood me, he knew me, he knew what I'd gone through. So he'd lost his home, I'd lost my home as such. And you know, his business had gone tits up. Well, one of mine had already gone tits up. So I kind of felt his pain. And I just thought, right, I can, you know, and I wanted to help him. I wanted to heal him. I said, look, you know, after this conversation, I really just felt that connection. I just thought, I'm going to try and help you. So I said to him, look, I'll try and help you if I can, you know. And again, I'm the fixer. I wanted to fix people. I wanted to help people. Didn't want to fix myself, just wanted to help others. And this is a massive, but really needed to learn. So over the months, again, we would meet, and then I'd still be drinking. I still have my son, but again, it would be weekends, and he'd be out with his friends now, or I'd see him. But I was lucky, you know, he would stay with his friends, so I'd go and see Damien. So I'd go there weekends, get pissed, and again, he wouldn't really see the real me. But again, he would talk. He'd like a drink. And I thought, oh, well, this is great. You know, this is something that's going to work out. Mm-hmm. And again, over the months, we'd see each other, not every weekend, but, you know, every other weekend. It depended when my son wasn't with me, or if he was at his dad's, or if, he would be at his friends, so I could see him. And again, using alcohol to sort of like mask my confidence issues. And because I'm confident around my son, I could be with me, be myself around my son, but obviously outside world, exterior world, no, you're not going to see me. Even at these events, you still didn't really know the real me. And anyway, long story short, I keep saying that, but it's such a long story.
I don't mind it. For me, I'm just like, yeah, I'm in there now. I am invested.
You're in. I know. As I say, I can't tell it all, it's just too long. But so yeah, we've seen each other, getting on really well. Liked his banter. He's really funny. He's really intelligent, and could see, you know, he'd had a massive business, lost it all, and but he'd always blamed everybody else. You know, oh, this, that, and again, didn't listen. Was too pissed. Didn't see the red flags. Didn't take any notice. Just felt that bond. Wanted to heal him. Wanted to repair him. Anyway, over time, he moved quite a way. He's about 2 hours away. So we said, oh, let's think about moving in together, which we did. And I thought, oh, this is good. You know, I can we'll bring a nice home to my son, and, you know, stop, obviously not the drinking, you know, but like trying not to drink too much, you know, just have a couple of glasses at night and that's it, you know. Didn't want my son around all of that. And anyway, we moved in and felt really happy, and he's great with children, you know, he's a really good talker, and he'd talk to my son and play football. So I thought, oh, this is great, this is what I want, my son to be happy, and I want to see my son, you know, with someone, and a businessman, because my son's quite, I suppose, entrepreneurial as well. He liked he liked all these things, and I mean, he's still young at the time still, but I just thought, oh, this is great, you know, he's going to give him knowledge and help him grow. And anyway, all was good. And then a couple of weeks, maybe a month in, my son had gone. I don't know where he'd gone. Oh, he started to see this girl, and she was really sweet, and he was friends with her brother. So they said, could I stay there? And I'm like, well, you know, as long as the parents are around and that. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So he stayed. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so me and Damien were there, and like, you know, having a couple of drinks and chilling out. And I was sitting there watching telly, and he'd gone off in the other rooms. Didn't think anything of it. Anyway, looked up and thought, what's he doing? And he was standing, staring at me, like, but like intensely, but like as if no one was there. It was really weird. So I got up on the sofa, And I went up to him, I went, "Are you all right?" And then he literally got me by the throat.
What?
Yeah, he got me by the throat, pushed me up against the wall and strangling me. And he was calling me his ex's name. I was literally, oh God, that actually hurt me. But that's what it's like. I couldn't breathe. I was in shock. I've never like had this before. My ex, the first one, it hit me once, but not hit me. He'd gone like that and whacked me around the head, like stupid, he called me, and called me names. But I'd never actually had like proper like
Physical abuse.
physical and in a relationship. And I was in shock because my mum and dad, if I was a kid and I was naughty, I'd get smacked around the backside, like I was a little sod sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I was, but in a relationship, if someone's supposed to love me, I was in shock. So, he's got me by the throat, and I first of all, I couldn't speak, and then I'm choking, I'm thinking he's going to kill me. So I was screaming and crying. I'm like, get off me, and I pushed him, and and I was so scared. And then he literally, it was like he was in a trance. I don't even know what the hell it was. I mean, he wasn't, I don't think he was doing drugs or anything like that. I've not seen anything. It was just, he'd like to drink. But he was like a different man. I've never seen anything like it. So when I pushed him off, there was like a mirror on the wall, and he literally like punched the wall, and the mirror sort of shook and then fell. And I'm like, my God. But at this time now, I'm like, well, I've got to escape. Where am I going to go? Because it was night time, it was evening. I thought, again, I've got nowhere to go. Where the hell am I going to go? Because now I've left, I've left my place. I've left everything. We started together and, on this new adventure and got a new home together. And I thought, my God, what am I going to do? So I literally run as fast as I could upstairs, and I locked myself in the bedroom. And I sat, like against the wall. I literally leant against the wall and door so he couldn't come in. And I sat there sobbing and crying. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I was embarrassed and humiliated because I thought, like, there's me all like, in this happy relationship, or so I thought. And like, this is curing all my problems, and all, I'm going to be really happy. And now I'm running away from this. So it was the most awful, awful night, and just sobbed. And I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was too scared to go back downstairs. And I sat there for hours and hours. And then I must have like maybe drifted off, like against the door for, I don't know, maybe a bit. Anyway, and then it was morning, and I thought, right, I can get out and then just run. Anyway, so come out of the bedroom. And, you're like literally creeping. I was scared, I was fearful because I didn't know what else he's going to do to me. And I walked down the stairs, like quite quietly, and you can hear the floorboards like making a noise. Yeah. And then he came out from the kitchen and come out and went, "Oh, all right, do you want tea? Or do you want some toast and do you want some breakfast?" And literally, I am like, Savia, what the actual fuck? What? Like, I was in shock.
He has bipolar.
Yeah, I didn't know this at the time. Yeah, he had, and I did not know this, and I'd never experienced bipolar. I hadn't been around it. I didn't understand it, and I was absolutely petrified. But he was like he was a different person, like he was really sweet, really. And I said to him, "Do you know what you did last night?" He went, "No, I don't like talking about it." I said, "You nearly killed me." I said, "You had your hands around your throat. I couldn't breathe." I said, and I was absolutely petrified. And then he sort of like literally not fell to the floor, but he sat down and like was in tears. So, "I'm so sorry." He said, I said, "You were calling me your ex's name. What the hell's going on?" So I said, "I've never been around this. I'm not used to this. It was absolutely terrifying for me. So I've not, I've not experienced that." So anyway, he begged, said, "I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again." And I said, "I've just got to get out." So I went out for a walk, and no, actually I went in the car and I went out, and then I just walked. I just needed to clear my head. And then his mum rang me, and his sister rang me and said, "Look, please don't leave him. Please don't leave him. He loves you more than anything. He'll never do it again. And he's sorry." But I mean, I don't know if they knew exactly what he'd done to me. I don't know. But they said, And I just thought, well, what am I going to do? As I say, now I've got this house with him, we've got I've tried to make a lovely home for my son. Like, how I can't, I thought, I haven't got the energy to then get out and start. And I just thought, well, maybe if I can try and help him get things better back in his life, like get his children back and try and help rebuild his life, maybe, just maybe, I might be able to help. So stupidly, I went back and stayed. And again, he didn't do anything for a long, long time. He was kind of like he was controlling himself, and, he'd drink, but not that much. So I didn't know he had a problem. I just thought he was okay. He'd like a drink, and he always blame it on everything that, oh, I'm Irish. We all like a drink. And I'm like, oh, okay, and then, every time he did have a drink, it'd be like, oh, my children, or something would upset him. So I just thought, well, okay, it must be that. If I can heal that and repair that, he will be okay. So I did. I spent ages and years helping him and trying to take him to therapy and coaching, and we went to AA. And but he wouldn't. He'd go in, and then he'd come out and get straight on the piss, and he didn't want to go. And AA, I turned up, I rang them and said, oh, how can how can I help? Because I thought he's obviously got a drinking problem, and as I say, over the years, I saw it, and I just, so when I rang up AA, I said, look, I'll come and I'll support him, I help him. Do I need to come in? Don't I come in? What do I do? They said, well, if he wants you to come in, then come in and just be there, don't have to say anything. Or if he doesn't, just sit outside and wait. I said, okay, So I said to him, I've booked in, there's an AA down the road, it's on at certain times, and it's in the church. And I said, look, let's go. And I'm not going, I haven't got a problem. He just he wouldn't accept it, and he wouldn't take, you can only lead a horse to water, as they say. Exactly, and he wouldn't do anything. And I tried everything. And in the end, I've got his kids back. And I mean, even to have his kids back, it was like a 4 to 5 hour journey, driving here, all day, driving them. And but I wanted to make him happy. I wanted him to have his children in his life, and make it a family unit. So I thought, if I can get his children, so I ended up with his children a lot every other weekend. But they knew the mums, didn't really know them that well. Apart from one of them, I did. We got on well, but he never let me speak to the other one. And anyway, I would see the children, and they liked me, and the mums liked me. So, they saw me as sort of a step-mother figure. So you try and rebuild them. But the thing was, he would be there and he'd see them, but then he'd end up drinking again, because I'm like, well, I've got your kids back. I've done everything, and he just wasn't prepared to kind of do the work. Anyway, another long story short, this is all happening. He's sort of drinking and problems. But on the other side, I've got my dating, the matchmaking.
Yes.
And I've got a company from the States rang me up or messaged me, actually on Instagram they messaged, and then they said, we'd like to talk to you about a TV show. I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, this sounds exciting. And it sort of took me away from all my problems. What else is going on? Anyway, they said, we've been all around the world, and they've spoken to about 100 matchmakers, and they said, we'd like to interview you. And I'm like, oh my God, I was proud, excited, but at the same time nervous. So anyway, oh my God, why do they want me, and anyway, had probably about 4 months worth of, or maybe 3 months worth of interviews and meetings, and a lot of them were done over Zoom because they're in the States. And they really liked me, and I'd just been myself, actually, which is really, I wasn't putting on anything. I was just me. And I thought, oh, this could change my life, and this could give us some money that I can hopefully put him in rehab and sort him out and try and get my life back on track and have some security for myself, because again, I've still got debt still, and I've been working really hard. But, we've got this house now. He's building his business, but it's not really going anywhere. And, we've got debts now. I've still got to pay the bills. So I thought, this is my way out, and help him, and kind of maybe build a family unit and get him in rehab. So I got it got down to 3 girls, and then 2 girls, and they said, look, Lisa, they really love you. And what it was is basically, it's a big show in America. I'd be kind of I suppose, the matchmaker, like the main person on the show. And I'm like, bloody hell, I was quite shocked. Thought, why do they want me, And really excited. Thought, this is it. And this is it. And then the phone went quiet. Didn't hear anything. And then, I thought, I haven't heard anything. Yeah. And I emailed. I didn't want to email because I already knew the answer. I said, is everything okay? When's it happening? Or what, do you need anything else from me? They said, I'm really sorry, but we've gone with the other girl. And oh my God, Savia, my heart sank because I thought this was my way out, the money, and it would help me. And I cried. I was so gutted, absolutely gutted. And I was so angry as well. I thought, and then you kind of like, is it why? Why was it? Because I'm fit? Because I'm stupid? Or is it? You like all them your self-talk. Like them doubts in your head. Why? So anyway, I thought, right. The next day, I thought, sod it. I'm going to write my own TV show. And I did. I feel a bit like Forrest Gump, like when he's like, so I did. So I wrote my own TV show. I hadn't written one before, and like professionally. And so I wrote this out, and again, kind of needed spelling and grammar checked. It wasn't great, and it was really funny. This guy I match-made ages before that. And I've worked with a lot of people in telly and media and what have you. Anyway, I said to him, do you know anyone in TV or media? He went, yeah, I do. He said, I said, I've created this TV show. I said, would you mind sending it over to them? And he went, yeah, all right. He said, send it to me first, because I think he knew I was dyslexic. I said, yeah, okay. Sent it to him. He had a look at it. And he goes, okay, he said, I'm not in TV, but I'll have a look, and I'll send it to these guys. Anyway, the next day he come back to me and said, they love it. He said, they'd like to get on a call with you. So I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. Anyway, got on the call with them. It was on a Zoom, and I didn't know who they were. They just said they've been in TV like 25, 35 years, and they were more interested in me. And again, I was bloody nervous, but I just sort of tried to be, like myself and just talking. And they're asking me loads of questions. I mean, it was quite intense. I mean, it must have been about, 45 minutes, an hour, asking me questions. But it seemed really nice and really liked them. And again, I didn't know who they were. So they said to me at the end, they said, I would really like to be the executive producers on this. I was like, oh, wow. But I was like, and I remember the guy, Damien, he said to me, look, just play calm, play cool. And he said, always take something away from somebody, then they want it more. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So I said to him, can I come back to you and let you know? So I put the Zoom phone down, or the laptop. And the guy who had obviously got me and introduced me rang me back, said, Lise, do you know who these are? He said, basically you don't say that to them. And I was like, right, why? And then he told me who they were. I'm like, oh my God. So the guy, he has been in worked with Spielberg for years. And he's massively known in the States. He's in the UK. He's very famous in the movies. So he's known really really high profile, as in the business side of it. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. But then he goes, but the woman, she created Big Brother X Factor. And she had found Anton Deck. And what happened was, she knows, he said, within, because I researched her, after I knew all this, within 1 minute or 30 seconds, she knows if someone's going to be great on TV. And again, I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't, because honestly, if I'd have known, I'd probably I would have been in an absolute state. I probably wouldn't have been. I'd been like Chandler from Friends, on a date, I just couldn't have spoken. I'd have just been a wreck. So it would not have been good. So I was just like, oh my God, and they want to partner with me. So we ended up partnering up and kind of putting this show together through emails and kind of meetings, and it was getting really excited. So we went to film a demo, but the thing was, in the background I've still got Damien, and he's getting worse and more out of control. the alcohol is getting worse, and he's getting quite abusive, and it's getting frightening, because I just thought, with that one thing, from back, the years ago, he won't ever do that again. And then this one night, I was in bed, gone to bed, and fast asleep, and we go to bed about 10ish. And I don't know what time it was, maybe an hour later, I don't know. And again, I was fast asleep. He'd come in the room, and I didn't hear him. And I felt like literally he'd put his knee on my chest. And so I'm just, only waking up, and I'm choking. I can't breathe, because he's like literally pushing me down. And he's going, your phone, where is it? I'm like,
What?
Yeah, like, what? I'm trying to breathe here. I'm like trying to push him off, like I couldn't breathe. And as I say, I'm half asleep. I'm still like trying to process all of this. I'm like, my phone's there, like, And he went and got it, and then he took it out of the room. And I'm like, well, what do you want my phone for? What are you doing this for? And he's like, what's your passcode? I thought, I don't know. Like, yeah. And I thought, I don't know. Like, and I told him, and he's on it. And I don't know. And this is really weird. He's watching a film, and I don't know if it's something on there. I think he thought I was having an affair. I've never had an affair. I'm not like that. I'm just, I was more interested in my career. I'm not who does that. I've never, I've never cheated, but I've kissed one person when I was in a relationship years and years ago, and I was in my 20s, and I do always make. But yeah, but no, I've never cheated anyone. That's not me. I'm not that person. So, and I was in shock. I thought, well, where's all this come from? And he was just like, and he was standing there, and again, it was them face and that eyes, like just like as if it switched, and it's just like absolute. He was gone, and he frightened me. And again, my son was in the other room, and I'm thinking, right, I've got to protect him. And but he's drunk, So I thought, what the hell am I going to do? So I had to I stayed in the room, and I was listening for my son. I mean, he's older now, my son, and he actually can look after himself. But at the same time, I'm still like, I'm worried for my son. I'm concerned for my son. But I've got to get him, how do I get him out, or what do I do? And anyway, he sat there, and I'm sort of listening, like sort of door open, and he's drinking more. And I'm like, good, because I know he's going to pass out. So I was really pleased. So he did. He passed out in the end, and I'm sat there. As you say, you're on tenterhooks again, so I'm worried about my son and what's going to happen, and I can't have anything happen to my son. And us and I just thought, I can't be in a relationship like this. You cannot. He's not doing anything. He's not healing. He's not doing the work. And but again, at the same time, I've got to get somewhere for me and my son. I've got to try and get somewhere. I've got nowhere to go again. I'm in that cycle again. I'm back literally to where I was again. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And obviously I've got this TV side, that this is going to take off. I've got to stay calm. I've got to keep my head together. Yeah. Anyway, he passed out, and next day he was all fine again. And like, as if nothing had happened. I told him again what he'd done. I said, I just can't do this anymore. I'm done. You've got to get therapy. You've got to stop drinking. And then I promise I'll never take a drink again. I'm going to do something. I'm going to work on myself. I'm like, I said, you've got to, as I'm going. And so I thought, well, that's good. He's going to stop drinking, and he'll change. And he sort of did. He didn't really have drinks for days, and I thought, that's good, because he was drinking every day, like every day. And then I thought, well, maybe he's not an alcoholic, because I don't know. I've only ever watched it on EastEnders. I think it was Phil Mitchell. He'd always be drinking. He'd always be pissed. So I thought, well, you can't be. You mustn't be an alcoholic then if you don't go days without drinking. So I thought, well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not an alcoholic. Maybe he just needs it to, get over what he's got. But I've given him everything. I'm now helping him build a business. He's got his kids back. He's got security. He's got a roof over his head. I've done everything I promised I would help him, and he hasn't repaired or healed himself.
Yeah.
So what else can I do? And I just thought, I've got to look after myself now, my son. I have to think about us. So I had to sort of keep my head on, and like literally thinking 5 steps ahead. When I'm out, where's my son? What's he doing? What am I looking after him? Because I've got nowhere to go. Again, I hadn't told my parents. I hadn't really told anyone because I was humiliated and embarrassed that he was drinking, and I'm letting all this happen. No one knew about him like strangling me. No one knew about him putting his his knee on my chest. I hadn't told anyone because I was humiliated. I was embarrassed, and I shouldn't have been, but I didn't speak to anyone. And that's why I think it's the conversation we must try. I'd say to anyone, please just tell somebody, just talk to somebody, if it's a therapist or a friend or someone, so they know. And possibly, because I was in danger, really. I mean, it was a ticking time bomb. I just didn't know, when it's going to go off. Again, I just buried my head in I just had to think, right, how am I going to exit? How am I going to get out of here? I've got to get money. So the TV show filmed, and I went to have a meeting up in London. Again, I knew my son was out. I thought, right, I'm going to be safe. My dog, I was even worried about my dog. My dog was like my little saviour, and actually it was a golden retriever. So, remember he said the yellow dog, and I actually ended up with the yellow dog. So my little dog was my saviour. My loved her to bits. She was always with me. And so I had to sort of make sure she was okay as well, because I couldn't leave him with her, because he'd just end up leaving the door open and he'd pass out somewhere. So I had to be, it was like walking on eggshells and being 10 steps ahead of everything. It was exhausting. It was draining. And went to go and have this meeting up in London, and he'd heard me on the phone and know that I was going up to London having this meeting, because we was about to sign contracts, and it was getting massive, and I was going to make a lot of money. Anyway, so I'd had meetings up in London earlier, and then I was going straight across to this meeting. And I said to him, well, what are you doing for the day that morning? Oh, yeah, I'd like to go. I said, no, please don't, because I just knew. I thought, I don't want to be on even more eggshells. Anyway, get to this meeting, went to the Groucho. And the guy who I was meeting, the guy who's worked with Spielberg, lovely guy, he'd done lots of presentations there. He's very high up in media. He's very well known. And we had this meeting, and really going really well, really happy. And he said, this is it. We've got a massive contract, so signing it. And then in walks Damien. He is pissed as a fart. And he comes over, but he's he's a functioning alcoholic. So I think
one of those ones. Yeah. They're even more dangerous.
They're dangerous. With his business, no one would know he was an alcoholic. Like, no one would know. I'd always be turning off the phone. I'd have to monitor everything. Even someone coming to the door, I was always 5 steps ahead. But it's exhausting, You're not living. You're literally. It's like looking after a child. Like a baby toddler. You're having to look where they're going, what they're doing. So he turned up, pissed, and we'd had a bottle of wine on the table, and I'd had a glass, and the guy had a glass, and sort of securing the deal, and everything's going really well. And then he literally picked up the bottle, downed it, and started shouting out profanities like. You're a cunt, and but in this club, it's it's a business meeting. There's a lot of people there, and I am humiliated, and so is this guy, because obviously he does presentations there. He's very well known, and it was humiliating, and he was so embarrassed, and he was just shouting and swearing and just being really rude. And in the end, the guy goes to me, let's try and get him out of here. So we ended up having to carry him out of this club, and got him in a cab eventually, because I didn't even know if a cab was going to let him in the cab. Yeah, it was that bad. Anyway, got on the train, and he's embarrassing me on there, talking to people and really shouting and screaming and just being a prat, and you're thinking, oh God. But there was no point. If I couldn't talk to him then, because it just would have blown up. So again, I don't like confrontation, so I just wanted to let things calm down. But the next day I said to him, right, I'm going. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. And I said, look, stay. I will still help you get your children. I said, when you went to see them, I will bring them, but I will be with them. but I'm not in a relationship with you anymore. I cannot be with you. I said, you promised you stop drinking. You've been promising loads of times. You promised therapy. Sorry, my dog. And you haven't done anything about it. I've got you everything I promised I would, and I'm not doing this anymore. And then I said, I'm going to stay at my mum's, and I was hoping my mum would like let me stay. And then I went and talked to my mum and dad and told them like what was going on, and they're like, no, come and stay and come back. And I just took my son back there, and the dog. And I thought, right, let's just. And I've told his family. I said, look, I've left him. I said, I'm really sorry. I just can't do this anymore. And they said, look, we understand. We know. They said it's happened before. I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't know exactly what. So I got back into my parents, and then then things started to escalate. He just turned into like devil.
Monster.
He was a monster. He was ringing me like some mornings, like I'd get 83 missed calls, 60 texts. He'd be turning up at the house pissed, abusive. He'd be emailing clients, like he'd email the TV people and said, Lisa's stupid, she's a div. But the way he worded that email and the emails to people, it was articulate. It wasn't someone who was pissed, and that's what, because at least I thought if he'd put there, I would ever let it go, but if he'd put, it's spelt wrong or miscommunication, but it was like calculated. It was really horrible. He's saying like,
he sounds like another narcissist, but he also sounds like how can I say, manipulative, malicious one whose fear has made him bitter. So therefore, he is strategic in how he does things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I just couldn't believe it, but it just got out of hand, like really bad. As I say, he's messaging clients. He's saying that, and it was embarrassing actually. He's saying, I stole his telly, I stole his dog, and I bought the dog, and I stole his mobile phone. And but he'd email all these clients in and copying his mum. And lucky enough, his mum, bless her, she sent an email back. She said, Lisa hasn't done any of this. And she said, your phone is actually at the police station because you left it at the pub and someone's picked it up. So in a way, it was quite nice, because obviously I thought these people probably think, they know me, but they don't know me, and especially clients and the TV people. I was humiliated, so embarrassed. And but then he knew all the social media and he was putting things on there.
Oh my gosh.
Lisa is a CUNT. And then he put, Lisa is a droogie. And I've like taken paracetamol. Obviously, I had a wacky back when I was like in my 20s, but I'm not I drink, and I own up to that. But I'm not someone who takes drugs. And he was just it was just awful. But he was sending this to like the media people, the TV people, and it was getting frightening. But it was getting worse and worse. And so I contacted the police. I said, look, please help me. I don't know what to do. And I contacted his family and just said, look, please, can you take him? He's getting really bad. He's frightening me and he was threatening me and he was calling me, like slag, fat cow, and just, all girls. I always said fat girls are all the same and you are one. And, it was just like really horrible words. It wasn't, like nice. And I don't, it's just not nice. And, the police got involved and they said, look, note it down and film him if he comes to there and ring us if you're, frightened. But he was getting worse, they were getting more threatening and more frightening. And then the worst one came was, I'm coming round now, I'm going to kill you. And I was literally petrified. And I rang up the police and me and my mum were sitting in the lounge and I've been locking like every night I've been locking everything up, the windows. I'd go around and double check everything. So I just did not feel secure. I was frightened. So I'd lock the door, I'd lock, obviously lock it, but then you'd like double lock it and like put all the doors and the bolts on and, the windows just to make sure. Because, you're living on the edge. I was frightened this time and my mum was getting frightened. And then he turned up not long after he'd said this, and I could, I knew he was in this like literally.
Trance, yeah.
Um, and I saw him. So me and my mum were sitting on the sofa, and he's walking past. And my mum's got like a I don't know, like the glass window door. You could see him, and literally my heart went in my mouth, and I thought I could see this. He was like like a monster. I didn't know what was going to happen. And the door, because the dogs had been in and out of the garden, was open. And I thought,
Uh-oh.
oh my God. So I've never run so fast to the door. But he was, so I got to the door and he was there at the same time, and he
Oh,
was pushing
shit.
it. And I was pushing it back. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, because he's quite a strong bloke. And I literally used, I don't even know, like all my might, and I slammed it. And I've never moved so fast. I put the bolt across, and I was shaking, my mum's shaking, like we're both petrified. And he's screaming and shouting, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I am worried. And the police, they're still on the phone. So we rang them. And they're like, right, get into a room, make sure you're safe, you know, and we'll be there as soon as we can. And I was petrified. And me and my mum were shaking at the back of the room, like two kids, you know, like frightened. And so the police turned up, and they couldn't see him, like, because he was obviously been walking around. But we was hiding back, so we didn't know really exactly where he was. I was just too scared. And they said, we can't find him. And they were obviously looking, and this is what they told me in the conversation. They couldn't see him, and then they found him and arrested him. And they said they sort of, they arrested him, and then they phoned through back to the house and said, look, we'll be back later to take a statement, but we're taking him straight to custody. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and you're shaking. I still, like, frightens me now. And it was just horrendous. But as I say, my mum, you know, my mum's older now, and, you know, it was just a terrifying time. So anyway, he went to custody, and the police said, look, he's going to be here all night. And I was like, right, okay. And they said he might be released tomorrow, but we'll let you know. So I'm like, okay. Anyway, so I thought, right, this is my opportunity to go back to the house, because I've got all my stuff there still. Anyway, he'd chucked all my clothes, all my stuff, like even my computer out, like there's like a roadway, and he'd chucked all that on there. And I walked into the house, and I've never seen such a mess. It was like, you know, and again, I've been homeless, not to be, but it was like someone who, like 3 or 4 people been homeless and just living in there and just chucking all their litter. So
Oh my
there was
gosh.
feces all over the sofa, puke in every room, you know, like toilet in every room, sick. Well, not every room, but most rooms. They were sick in their rooms. It stank. It was just horrendous. And beer cans all up the drive, and the neighbours. One time as well in between that, and rang me and said, oh, Lisa, could you come down? I'm like, oh, what, why? And they said, oh, he's passed out on the front lawn. He'd been hugging trees. They said he's sending people back, you know, like, and they're pissed and shouting and got music blaring. I'm like, oh my God. I said, I don't know what to do. You know, what do I do? I was too scared to go round there. But obviously this time I knew I could be round there because he was at the police custody. So I rang his brother. I said, look, if you don't take him, he's not going back to the house, because they don't, you know, we've got to secure it. And so they come and took him away and took him to, I don't know, the doctors or hospital or whatever, I don't know. But then I thought, right, we need to this was a rental, so I have to give this place back and clean it up. And so again, petrified, scared, we cleaned it up and tidied it up. And I thought, right, because he's been arrested, you know, like, this might have frightened him and he might stop. But it didn't. It didn't stop. The abuse, the calls, the phone, the emails, it was just non-stop. And so the police got involved still, you know, still carrying on the process. And they said, right, you know, we're going to put a restraining order on him. So they did. They put a restraining order on him. They said if he gets in contact with you again, they have to tell him, I think, then we can arrest him. So he didn't stop, and they went and arrested him again. And what happened then? So anyway, the policeman said, I'm going to put the living fear in him, to try and stop him,
Yeah.
try and help you. And he was the police were amazing, I have to say. They were absolutely brilliant. They really tried to help me. And so while that's happening, obviously my business is all falling to bits. Mentally I'm in such a bad place. I can't think about that. And I just and then obviously the TV thing didn't happen at the time, and I was like, oh God, everything's falling to bits, and I'm starting to get in debt. I've still, he's not working. I've still got to pay for this. I've still got to tidy up this flat. I've got to clean it all up, and and I literally had to go in there and burn everything. It was just horrendous. Clean it all. I mean, it took over a week just to clean. It was disgusting. Yeah, it was awful. Like setting the to put everything on the fire, put it on a heap to fire, the bed, like it just weed over it. It was just disgusting. And all my belongings, I mean, I didn't have many, but I had, bits and that. So, it's just horrendous. But anyway, after that, what happened then? Then I rang his ex-partners, not out of spite. I didn't want to tell them, anything between us. I thought that's between us. I just rang them and I said, one of them I texted, I just said, just to let you know, I said, I'm not with him anymore. I said, so the only reason I'm texting you is, one, just to say, hope you're okay. And two is, please don't let him pick the children up, because obviously I said, you probably know he's got a drinking problem. I said, but I just want to protect the children. So she said, no, thank you. I know, that's okay. And the other one, she said, can you ring me? I'm like, okay. And bearing in mind, he's still trying to take out my business. He's trying to close everything down on my businesses. And this is what I've been working for so hard, the caravan, no money. I've done freebies. I've been working 2 or 3 jobs. And I've built everything, into this business and done everything I could to keep it going. And he's a friend of his, although the friend didn't know him really that well, I don't think, because I'd be monitoring the calls or putting the phone down, like when he was pissed. He worked for the government and he used to close businesses down. And Damien, he said, oh, this guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he said, he's going to close your business down and he's coming after you, and I'm going to come after you. I'm going to destroy you. And I'd get voice note after voice note. I didn't respond to literally half of it. But when he said this, your business, because I thought this is the only thing, my security, I've got to get back on my feet. I've got to get home again for me and my son. And what am I going to do? And, I'm frightened. So I just thought, right, okay, if I can try and help, try and solve this. So I said, look, please don't take this business, please. And I shouldn't have done that. Because that was what his fire, that was his control over me. And but I was petrified. So I'm frightened now. I'm feeling really shit. It's coming up again, nearer Christmas again. My head's in such a bad place. He's trying to take the businesses out from me. The calls aren't stopping still. The police are getting involved. We've now got to go to court and go through all of this. He'd been arrested. He'd been back into the police cells. And but lucky enough, he hadn't come back down, which was one good thing. But again, I'm still walking on eggshells because I don't know if he's going to turn up or not. I don't know, so you're not feeling safe. And then when I spoke to his ex, this is what literally turned me and made my stomach sick. So I spoke to her and I said, look, I'm really sorry. I said, I'm not ringing to tell you tit for tat. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I'm just not with him anymore. I said, but I'm just ringing you just to tell you, or she rang me, tell me to ring her, but I'm telling you just so you can keep your your child safe. Yeah. That was all it was. I don't want anything. I don't want to be doing tit for tat. I'm just not interested. And then she said to me, and this is what made me feel sick, she said, oh, you lasted this long. And again, we hadn't ever really had a conversation because he'd always kept me a distance from her. And he said she was a druggie. So I didn't know. And to be honest, she always wore sunglasses. I mean, she's a really lovely, pretty girl. But she'd always wore sunglasses. And he said, oh, yeah, she's a really bad druggie. And I'm like, really? But I didn't know. And he kept me away. So I didn't know her. So when she said to me, and she sounded like really articulate, sorry, my fan was screaming off. She sounded really articulate, and she said to me, Lisa, I've got something to tell you. And I thought, oh God, what is it? you know, you feel sick. I'm like, oh my God, you know, and nervous. And she said to me, when I was pregnant, he hurt me, and he's punched, I think he punched her mum or her arm and hurt them physically. But she said and I don't know if, and I wish I'd known, I don't know if I was literally, my head was all gone by this. I don't know if he said pushed or kicked her down the stairs while she was pregnant. I know. And I thought, what? I literally, I felt, I wanted to puke up. I felt sick inside. I thought, this is disgusting. Like, I'm never, ever letting anyone do this to anybody again. Like, because I was always a bit, you don't want to keep pushing for the court and that, because I just wanted it to stop. But at the same time, I thought, I am never letting him do this to anybody ever again, to hurt them, because you don't know. I was lucky I got away. The next person might not. And I thought, I am stopping you now. And again, I was frightened, but I thought, I am doing something about this. So I did tell the police what she had told me. But obviously, it's another case. It's different things. And but they said to me as well, so anyone listening as well, if you're ever in a relationship with someone and you're not sure if they've done something, there's a thing called Claire's Law, and you can go to the police and just say Claire's Law, and they will look into this person and tell you if they've got anything untoward. But obviously I didn't know all of this, and she'd gone to the police quite a few times, but had left him. So that's why she'd left him, because, I mean, again, it all makes sense. It all came together, but I didn't understand, at the time. Obviously, he said he'd lost his children, but only through losing his business, and they didn't want to be with him because he had no money, and he used all these excuses. So I didn't know. I didn't know why. And so, yeah, it was just like, okay. But when she told me that, I fell to bits. I just thought, I don't know what, I just didn't know what to do, how to stop it. And so after that, all the police were involved. We had the court, we were going back and forth, we'd going to court. It was coming up to Christmas again. And again, I had no bloody money for my son's Christmas. And again, I was in this really bad headspace. It's negative, and my business was all falling to bits. And, the TV show hadn't happened. And my car then got repossessed. I was paying still money for the flat, and everything was just crumbling and falling on.
Okay.
Sorry, my phone. Sorry, my phone rang then. That is typical. I put it on silent as well. I put it on. So yeah, everything's crumbling. Now, I am falling to bits here, and I'm just going to turn that off as well. I'm falling to bits. I'm absolutely petrified. And my dog's with me, like she's licking me, giving me cuddles, bless her, making me feel really good. And anyway, I just thought, I can't do this. I can't be here. So what did I do again? It was the evening. I was at my parents' though this time. It was in the bedroom. And it was night time, and I went to end my life again. I just thought, I was so low. I was so stressed. I had all the business and everything, I was just in a state. So I decided, I thought, right, if I end this, everyone would be better without me, which is stupid. But I was low. And I went to get out of bed and went to go, like, I've got a big cabinet in the bedroom and that, and I had all my stuff in there and a load of pills. And I got out of my bed, and it was night time, went to go into the cabinet, and the lights, we had a power cut. It was incredible. I'm like, what the hell? Literally in that second, I said to myself, I'm ending it. I can't be here anymore. And as soon as I sort of basically, I've said that, within seconds, the power went off. I'm sure it was God, the universe. I'm not sure, but that power went off. And so the power went off, and it literally stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, what am I doing again? It was a circle. I was back in the circle, back in the loop, the same problem, the same issues. And I give myself a slap round the face again, and I sort of sat there crying, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I've got to sort myself out. And lucky enough, the police had sorted him out and kept him, said, right, he won't be coming near you anymore. We've sorted it. And but you still got to go to court. So that was one thing clear in my mind. And the next thing was, it was Christmas. I got my son. I ended up getting him something, borrowed a bit of money to get him a present. So I didn't feel good. And actually, we did have a nice Christmas day. And then 4 days later, my dog, who was only 5.5 at the time, literally took her out for a walk, came back and she collapsed. Her back legs like this, and she collapsed. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got, my head was like, I've got all this going on. And she was my saviour. It's a bit like Marley and Me, the film, like we were inseparable. We were together. I loved her and she was always with me. And she passed away. So she passed away. I took her to the vets and they said, like, there's nothing we can do. And then we had to put her down. And again, like, we've got a $2,000 vet bill. And I'm like, bloody hell, how am I going to pay for all of this? My head's in bits. I've got everything's falling around behind, around me. And I just couldn't see a way out. So I felt a bit back in my room again. 3 or 4 days didn't come out, as in tears, just didn't even want to eat, just didn't want to see anybody. And I went out for a walk, I think this is the 5th day, and on my own, and went out for a walk in the woods, no one around. And I asked the universe, I said, universe, God, angels, please show me a sign. Please let me know she's okay. Because she was in so much pain when I went to, when she's at the vet, so I could see her, and I just wanted to know she was all right. I said, please let me know things are going to be all right. And you don't expect like maybe a gust of wind or a feather, but nothing happened. I thought, bugger, I just wanted a sign just to give me some peace, because I've just gone through so much turmoil over these years. I couldn't take any more. Anyway, I don't know when it was, a few days later, I hadn't told anyone this, I was on my own. And, think if I was people, I think you're a bit batshit crazy.
No, I believe in it. I believe
I
believe in it.
And so, yes, went to have my lunch, sitting there. And my mum and dad, my dad's a bit like Alf Garnett, or Victor Meldrew. He don't say a lot. He's a bit, like, he's a man of not many words, he doesn't say a lot. And anyway, sitting there eating my lunch and looked up at the wall, and I'm going to show you this picture, and I have to send it to you as well, because this picture is incredible. It is of my dog. And I did not, as I said to you, I asked the universe for a sign, and did I get it. So I looked at the wall and I thought, what the hell is that? And I can't even tell you to this day what it is, but it was a picture of my dog. And bearing in mind, my mum and dad, like, I didn't tell them, and it's not something they're just like, they think they're like, what the hell, you're crazy. And I didn't tell my son. So this is my dog. So this was Holley.
Oh.
Right. And this was what appeared on the wall. Can you see?
No, I can't see it.
Oh, no. You're going to have to, when you edit this, you're going to have to put it up so you can't see it. So it literally, it looks, such a shame you can't see it. I'll just put it one more closer. I don't think you can.
No, I
can
can't
see it my end, but you can't. So it's a picture of my dog on the wall, like no one's painted it, no one, and like no one even knew, and as I say, my family are not like that. But that gave me hope. That gave me something, and that kind of made me like think, right, okay, I've got to turn my life around. So the next 6 weeks, I literally went to church, and I've never been to church in my life apart from like a wedding and a funeral. And I Googled, what do I wear to church? So I don't know what I wear to church. You all sort of see it as like the bonnet and the carpet skirt with the flowers. I thought, is that what I wear? What do I say? What do I do? And I went to church, and I must have been 6 weeks in there. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't even want to see anyone. I'd run in there, literally, and it's just sort of just before it's happening, and literally go and sit down in a seat. And I cried for, and literally sermon's on for an hour, and I cried. I didn't make it, like loud crying, but like literally cried for an hour, and then I'd literally just run straight out when it finished to walk back down the vicar. And then everyone gets up, and I just walked out and run. I just didn't want to see anyone, and I've done that for 6 weeks solid. And I sort of feel like it healed and helped me. And then that's kind of like when I went on the journey. I had to You see, because it was a pattern. It was the same thing that happened, and because I didn't learn the first time with the first ex, because I threw myself into work and keeping busy and drinking and, watching telly, I didn't do the work, the inner healing. And this is where my massive problems were. I didn't heal myself. So I went on a journey for probably a few years, really. I stopped drinking. I cut alcohol out whatsoever. I'm not had a drink for, God, years now. I don't even want to drink. I don't really, not that I don't care if anyone else drinks, that's up to them. But I didn't want to ever drink. And I kind of thought, right, I'm going on a healing journey. Now, I had already had the tools because I'd already done the therapy and the training. So I thought, I've got to heal myself and love myself. And you said to me in the first step when I looked in the mirror, I had to look at myself, and I looked at myself and I thought, right, why aren't you loving yourself? Like, what is wrong with you? And I went to see a therapist, one who trained me actually. And I went in there and I said, I need to see you. I said, I'm thick and I'm stupid. And she went, Lisa, how did you get here? So I drove. And she said, so if you drove, do you think someone who's thick and stupid could drive? I know, it was the most simplest, stupidest thing. But actually, it was a turning point. And I thought, my God, why have I let all these voices, all this, all these negativity and all these thoughts, let it, like the special bus, and you're stupid and you think, all of this deter who I am as a person. And I let it in. So I had to like unravel it all and stop it and heal myself until I'm in a place now where I love myself and I know I'm beautiful and inside and out. And again, the partners and the exes, do you know what? I actually do have some love for them. And although I've had to go through court and I've had to go through hell, but actually they've got their own insecurities and their own problems. And do you know what? I wish them well. And I hope they can maybe love themselves and like know what I've done. I love myself now and I really appreciate and approve of myself. And I hope they do too. So, you don't learn the first time, boy, is it going to bite you on the arse.
Oh,
and you're
telling you.
The second time. So I'd say to anyone out there, please learn the first time. Don't go through what I went through. This, like, learn, because it'll come back to you twice as hard. And believe me, and I am so grateful it did because it's changed me, and I've learned so much about myself.
Do you know what? That's one of the most awesome stories I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. And I know that we can go and talk on forever, but I know I only have a few more for you because I still want to. You've gone through all of this, but you still managed to become an editor-in-chief in your magazine. And I would love for people to know the reason why you started a magazine. What does your magazine represent? But also, how do you manage to decide, I'm going to do this to empower people just in general so you can have your magazine?
Yes. Good question. Thank you. And absolutely. So while I was in the healing process, I thought, what can I do? People need help. And for me, so this is why, and I'll just show you one of the magazines. So it's called Mind Jump. So hope you can see that.
Yep.
What I thought is the reason I created was I thought there's so many of us, and me included, I was that person who's stuck in my mind with fear, anxiety, stress, low self-esteem, worry, stress, money, anxiety, all of it was in my head. And I thought, if I can help people, give them a way to jump out of that mindset with expert advice, guidance. So I spent years finding the experts from all over the world who can give you great advice. So from, mental health, well-being, business, finance. I've got like literally some of the most awesome experts around the world who write for me. But again, I wanted to make it a lifestyle magazine. So it's got travel in there and beauty and fashion and all the lovely, nice things. But I wanted it to be so much more. I wanted it to tell powerful stories of like mine and others that people have gone through really difficult times and can get out of it. So I'm just going to give you two very, very short examples. Is say like one is Joyce, one of the front covers. She come up with a family, had no money, very, very poor. Worked in KFC to sort of like help for the family, like giving them some money. She's such a nice person as well. She's so lovely. And anyway, she got discovered in KFC. A photographer found her and said, "Oh, would you do a cover shoot?" I know. And anyway, she became Miss Universe, or I think the second Miss Universe or whatever it was, and she's now one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But what happened to her was, though, obviously that story is quite, an achievement, like she got found and what have you, but she lost a child. And yeah, it was awful. Losing one of your children. And she said mentally she just didn't want to be here and wanted to end it, was so depressed. And she talks about how she got out of that mindset. And I thought it's just so powerful, because there's so many other people who've maybe lost a child, might be young or old, or a baby, or even had miscarriage. It's so impactful. So I thought that story is wonderful, and it can hopefully help others. But the next story as well is John. So I love this story. Is John, he has Down syndrome, and he struggled like all of us, like at school, he struggled. He couldn't find any opportunities. There was nothing there for him. And but John is quite a cheeky chap. He's really funny. When we've done the interview, I love him. He loves socks, and he wanted to create his own business. And he said to his dad, "Can you help me? I want to create my own socks." So I'm going to show you a picture of her.
I like
so
this.
This is John here. So that's his dad at the top.
Oh,
and these
cool.
are the socks. Anyway, he created his own sock business, and now I just love it. Here's a bit in the magazine. John is the biggest sock distributor in the world.
I love that. I need him to make us some socks.
Yeah, I've got holes in all of mine. Yeah, but I just thought it's so powerful. These stories I can put in the magazine, and the magazine's free to read. It's online as well as print. But I just thought it's so wonderful that this can help somebody else who's going through different things. So each month we have different stories in there, but it's giving people hope and inspiration. So when they read it, they have some lovely things to read and beautiful tips and guidance. But also these powerful stories can bring so much meaning. And again, it's quite funny, because me being dyslexic and not being able to read and write, I've literally come full circle. And I'm creating a magazine, and I created it in Mum's bedroom. I started it all in there, and from nothing. And I just wanted to build it to give people hope and inspiration that they can achieve whatever they want. And the FICO, as they called, on the special bus, can do it too. Anyone can build their dream. Just believe in yourself.
See, this is what I love. So my next one for you is, when was the last time that you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Okay. I actually feel at peace with myself now. I have done it's only the last few years. I every day I go out for a walk, and I get out. I have my routine. I eat really healthy, have pizza and things like that. I've got a few treats, but healthy, and I eat really well. And I look after myself. And I think that's the thing. I had to look after my inside as well as my outside. So the exterior is nothing really. If I didn't love me and look after myself and approve of myself and have peace with myself. So every morning I go for a walk, and I have that time. As I said to you before, it would be, my mind would be filled with alcohol, with TV. I didn't want to open Pandora's box. But as soon as I opened Pandora's box, I've done it with therapy as well. I healed. And I walk every morning, and I just have that time just to sort of go in and just, check in with myself. Am I okay? Am I feeling? Am I feeling good? And the last few years, I've just felt so at peace. I love and approve of myself, and I feel good. And I want others to feel that too. It's hard. And even the exes, I know what they did, but actually they didn't do it for me. They did it for me because it helped me, and I actually am grateful for them coming in my life. At the time I wasn't, believe me, but now I am so at peace and so grateful, and I thank them for actually coming in my life to teach me who I am and what I'm about.
Do you know we're going to have to do a part 2 of this, right? 100% we're going to have to do a part 2 of this, because I feel there's so much more that I want to ask you.
Okay.
And I know there's so much more of a journey that you have. So we're going to put this as part 1, okay? Yeah. Because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was invested. I was like, and I sat down and listened to everything you said, and connected with so much of what you said, which I know will transcend to people in the world who are going through a similar scenario and feel like they can't come out. And all of us go through that. And when we're in that state of mind, we do feel like there is no coming back, and we feel like people don't understand us. Even when we try to explain what's going on, we feel, no, you're not getting it, because our mindset is kind of squashed within our own thoughts. And it's hard for us to get out of it. But I would love for everyone to be able to find you, to be able to want to have a conversation with you, any social media platforms to find out what your magazines are so they can be inspired by them also. Lisa, where can we find you on anything that you're on?
Yeah, so I'm on, the magazine is mindjumpmonthly.com, so they can on there. So it's free to read, and there's, as I say, some awesome stories in there, and it just gives people hope. I'm on Instagram, but also, not plugging my book, but the reason why I wrote this book, so it's called How the Fuck Did I Lose My Tiara?
I like the title, that's cool.
Yeah, but the story, as I've told you, as I say, it's so long, but I've put it all in here, and what I've gone through and how I felt and how I changed and how I healed. But actually, I wanted to write it because my tiara I'd lost it, but actually I had it all along, but I didn't open and find my tiara, but it was there all along. I needed to find it. So that's where I am. So yeah, I'm on books and socials, and but if hopefully my story can help one person or some people and give them some hope, and you're not alone. I always felt alone, but you're not alone. And my story is just like there's so many others out there have gone through difficult times as well. So I'm not, everyone's got a story. Everyone's going through difficult times sometimes, and you just got to know you're not alone. And it's just temporary. It might last sometimes longer, but actually you just got to find the strength to change it, and don't do what I did. Don't have the second, not the first time, the worst one. The second time was even worse. So don't, please, I beg of everyone. That's why I feel I'm here to tell that story. Is please learn the first time. Don't use substances to use to kind of disregard your pain. Don't use that, because that's what I did. I just used it. I covered up the pain and didn't think about it. I just used the alcohol and telly to keep busy. But actually, if I'd have opened up and looked at myself and could have done it through therapy or writing down how you feel, I wish I had done.
We're gonna have to do this live. I think we're gonna have to do this live on a stage with people, because I feel there are so many people that, like you said, I've gone through this, and sometimes seeing the person in front of you to actually embrace them as well will do something fantastic for them. So I think that's a beautiful way forward, to be able to share your story with so many people. So this is me saying to you, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. First of all, thank you for your vulnerability, your awesome humor and personality of who you are, but also not being afraid to share who you are with so many people around the world. This is me saying thank you to you, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's scary opening it up, but actually I thought, you know what, if I can just help one person or 10 people or whoever, then hopefully I've done something. So appreciate that, and that's really kind. And thank you for having me. And as you say, having your podcast helps others to listen to stories and people, and hopefully it helps them. So thank you again for your time. And as I say, there's me thinking we're only doing an hour. Like I think we're nearly 2 hours in, but it's so hard. My story's not, as I say, I've cut out a lot as well, because I knew it just takes so long. But it's not an easy story to tell. It really isn't.
That's why we're going to do a part 2, most definitely.
Yeah. No, but thank you. I appreciate that. It's really nice to have you and be on your podcast.
Thank you so much. So definitely, guys. So this is where I say the most important part. Thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast, and please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. You can also donate to the Ask People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or the Ask People podcast website and clicking on that community page. You can also listen to us every Tuesday, where we play a pre-recorded version of the Ask People podcast, the most recent version, but you don't just have to listen to that version of the Ask People podcast. You can go all the way to the beginning and listen to any episode of the Yes People podcast that resonates with who you are as a person. You can also listen on Wednesday, where we play the newest version of the Yes People podcast on the radio for you to listen to on the Heart Songs Live at 9 p.m. UK time. And this is where I say, guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
Society has made me want to validate me from my illusion that awaits me, from how the people will perceive me. It's my illusion that awaits me. We fight in our war with ourselves. Our mental health is silencing us from our heart. Social media is taking our time, connecting with each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on a Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed.
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't know exactly. That's what I thought, because when you say you've got the voice, my God, yeah, you melt me. And as you say, and you're so calm, and you ask great questions, thought-provoking questions. As I say, so that's why I just thought, like, it must be something. As I say, I swear the universe has put you here to find the stories and open up, and as you say, talk. But you're a mate, yeah, you're really incredibly talented.
Silencing us from our heart. Social media is taking our time, from connecting with each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok, strike a post on a Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok? 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 It's taking our time. Why we dance on TikTok? With each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram.